Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ba'd. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for bringing us together today. And we also thank our brother Al-Aq Abu Saqina that has been taking oath before our late arrival. Likewise, last week that we were in Tehran, we also used this avenue to thank Abu Abdullah. Is that also? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase each and every one of us in knowledge and understanding. So it may always come like that. And anytime it is like that, it may be the turn of any one of us. I may not be here, but if I even say I'll be here forever, it is impossible. A day will surely come that I may never be here again. And it will now dawn on each and every one of us that, okay, so and so person is no longer around. Who is now going to be taking hold of this city? So the onus lies on each and every one of us, so that we take whatever we are learning, we take it seriously. That, okay, even if it is not here, we may find ourselves in a place where you don't see any other person among the blind men to be their king, except any one of us. So if they now call, you cannot now say, this is my one eye, I'm still managing it. No. That you are one eye, you still need to use it to guide some people. Because some people will want to hold on to you that, oh yeah, just walk with that one eye. So we will be behind you. So it is that we are speaking in parables. Some of us, if they call us now to come and do that, me, I'm not Afar, I'm not Abu Sekina, I'm not Abu Abdullah. You now ask yourself, if you are not Afar, you are not Abu Sekina, you are not Abu Abdullah, are you the same thing like this so-called market women, the pepper seller, or whatever? So as long as you cannot compare yourself to these people, then definitely we need to improve on whatever we find ourselves upon. And that is what we call student of knowledge. We don't sit complacently that, oh, somebody will come and ditch everything. After ditching, we ask questions, we hit and we go. And that's all. No. So all these things, one of the fruits of knowledge is, one, to seek the knowledge. When one acquires the knowledge, to do what? To also disseminate it. It's not that we just, the knowledge is for myself. وَانْذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. Just as Allah told the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you disseminate the message to your close relative. And that is what is expected of each and every one of us. So, we may always call on any one of us. If one of these days, I see that I may not be around, I can decide to call, what is this, Shaykh Tajir? That Madam Hussein, please, you are going to underway and call the city, Abu Abso, only that you are not always around. That you be the one that will anchor the city, So, and like that. But let's adopt the motto of the Boy Scouts. And that motto is what? What is the motto of the Boy Scouts? Subhanallah. I believe you will know it. You know it. Abu Abso, Subhanallah. We don't say, well, it's not Sunnah now, it's not Sunnah Scout. Okay, to us generally, motto of the Boy Scout. To us generally. This one is a common statement. They say, motto of the Boy Scout, be prepared. Be prepared. So he said, at any time in our life, we should always be prepared. So you now say, okay, at every point in our life, we should have that motto. You know, that's the motto of the Boy Scouts. It's just a simple statement. It's just be prepared. Not that they will now call on you and now say, they found you wanting. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us in knowledge and understanding. Inshallah, today we continue with the book, the Tas'il al-Aqeedah al-Islamiyya. And that is the one that we focus on our understanding of the deen. I could remember vividly that the last time we took this, we were talking about the Tawheed al-Asma'i wa Sifa. Then those are the aspects that deals with oneness of Allah with regards His names and attributes. And the last time we explained some Qawa'id according to one of the books written by one of the ulama, Shaykh al-Uthaymin, Al-Qawa'id al-Muthla fi sifatillahi al-ulya wa fi sifatillahi wa asma'il husna. So, and he mentioned the Qawa'id for that of Asma' and that of Sifat. So we just try to summarize them together. And among these Qawa'id that we mentioned, we said one, that Asma'ullah wa Sifa is a tawqifi. They are what? They are something that we cannot invent anything of our own. That means that it has been stated that this is it in the Sharia, in the Quran, in the Sunnah. That we should not try to now say, but that name of Allah, they are names now, let me add to it. Just like we have the Christians doing today. They have many different names. Allah Bogboro, Elese Gungu, Unidash, Ahead. So, some Muslims too, they say they are only singers. And they too, they will now try to fabricate different names for Allah. So, said they are what? They are tawqifi. You don't fabricate unless you see evidence for them. There is nothing wrong in you describing the actions of Allah. But if Allah did not use that to call Himself a particular name, don't name it with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we mentioned that. Then we also mentioned that Asma'ullahi wa Sifa, that both of them, they are what? The la majal lil-aqli fi. You don't have opportunity of using your reasoning when it comes to the names and attributes of Allah. Then, also mentioned that Asma'ullahi wa Sifatihi kulluha husna. All the names and attributes of Allah, they are what? They are all beautiful. One should not look at this one. How can Allah describe Himself as this? I don't think I am going to hold on to this. He said, kulluha husna. They are all beautiful. And another thing is that all the names and attributes of Allah, there is no naqsu in it. There is no reduction or deduction that you look at the names of Allah and you use it to compare that of human. So all these ones, they are part of what we mentioned to ourselves the last time when we were discussing this. The reason why we were saying this is that some people, they fell into error as a result of names and attributes of Allah. Like the Ash'ira, the Mu'tazila, and many of them like that. That they will look at the names of Allah and they commit ilhad. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَذَرُوا الَّذِينَ يُلْحِدُونَ فِي أَسْمَائِهِ. That you should avoid committing ilhad in the names and attributes of Allah. Because ilhad is a grave sin. In fact, it takes one out of the fold of Al-Islam. And we gave us some of the examples of ilhad. One, to reject in totality the names and attributes of Allah, or to compare the names and attributes of Allah to that of human, or to objectify the names and attributes of Allah, and many other ways like that, through which people commit ilhad. And we also made us understand that that one that Jabata is mentioning is quite different, because they always say that that one too is ilhad, and that one is not ilhad. And if someone, that the one that is best is to call Allah by what? By Allah or all other names of Allah. Because Allah said, Udu'ullah, Udu'ur Rahman, Ayyama tad'u falahul asma'ul husna. That whichever one you call from among the names of Allah, they are what? They are among the beautiful names of Allah. So you can decide to call Allah Allah, you can decide to call Him Ar-Rahman, you can decide to call Him Ar-Rahim, and like that. So if you now see somebody that now call Allah, that is explaining the name or the actions of Allah to call Allah, can you say that that person has committed ilhad? No. For instance now, you look at the names of Allah, you now translate it, that the beneficent one, with reference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you say Allah, the beneficent one, or you, rather than saying it in English, you now decide to call it in Yoruba, that Allah, that is the creator of everything, or you take it that my Lord, that Oluwa mi. So saying that, has that person committed ilhad? No. But Jabata will say, you not mentioning Allah means that that person is committing ilhad. Now if you want to call Allah, you'd rather say Allah, but if you say Olong, or you say Olong Gbogbo, or you say Oluwa, you say no, you say Allah. If you call Allah, that is the best of all. You call Allah by that name of Allah, that is the best. If you want to translate, there is no apt translation for that particular word, Allah. But if you translate it with regards some of the other attributes of Allah, no problem. Whichever one you call, you are referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But for an individual to now say, no, why must you now say Allah? How must you say Oluwa? You must say Allah. If you don't say Allah, that means that is ilhad. That is what pushed Jabata to one of those things that push him to that Khawarij ideology. And up to now, some people out of that misunderstanding, they are still following him. Then apart from that, we also mentioned that there are some that were misled through their understanding of the names of and attributes of Allah. Like there are some, like the Ash'ari, they took selected 8 that, okay, these ones are the names and attributes of Allah. Then the remaining ones, they said, no, they are not attributes of Allah, that they will arrogate to Allah. So rather than taking it to be the meaning, they explain the meaning away. And that is why among the Aqeedah is that the names and attributes of Allah, they are what? They are well established. In the sense that they are talking about the sifa of Allah, and they are also talking about the personality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, if we mention the name of Allah, they describe, that is why the ulama will say, they are what? They are a'lam wa what? Wa awsaf. That means that they are personal they are pronouns. When you say, okay, this one, they are alam, you say, they are the names of Allah. That if you say somebody is Hakim, yes, that is the name of that person. But if we say Allah is Hakim, Allah is, His own is beyond that name. If He is that name, lafdhan wa ma'ana, in the deep meaning of that name, that is Allah. In the literal understanding of that is Allah. But if you call an individual a particular name, that individual, in his true personality, he may not be worthy of that name. If you say somebody is Al-Hakim, he may not be wise. But if you say Allah is Hakim, that is Allah. If you say Allah is what? Al-Adlu. You call somebody and say, that brother is brother Adlu. That is by name. But does that name befit him? It befits the majesty of Allah. So that is why we always say that yes, the names of Allah, they are what? They are alam. They are nouns. That is, they talk about the names of Allah, the personality of Allah, and they also describe the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, in continuation from there, we have the aspect that said that we have different, after having explained that, he said there are evidences from the Quran and the Sunnah that point to names and attributes of Allah, wherein we have some that were listed in the hadith recorded in Sunan al-Tirmidhi, where Allah subhanahu, according to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said that lillahi tis'ata wa tis'una isman, that Allah has 99 names. Man ahsaha dakhala al-jannah. So in that he said mi'a illa wahida, man ahsaha dakhala al-jannah, that whoever memorized them. So the ulama will say it's not memorization that will say names and attributes of Allah. Or you write everything in your house. Now say you have what? You have kept it in your house to the extent that it will make you enter Al-Jannah. No. That man ahsaha, whoever memorized them, practice them, or relates with them, dakhala al-Jannah. You look at the Rahman of Allah, the question that is asked is, how do you relate with that Rahman of Allah? That is, Allah is merciful, and you believe that Allah is as He described Himself. Then you also believe that there is none that is comparable to Allah in terms of His mercy. Then you should also be what? You should also be merciful, even if it is not as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why at times, whenever Allah describes Himself, Allah will want us to exhibit such type of attitude. In one hadith, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that in the hadith Qudsi that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Inni haramtu dhulma ala nafsi," that I have prohibited dhulmu upon myself. That is, I don't want each and every one of you to wrong yourself. وَجَعَلْتُ بَيْنَكُمْ مُحَرَّمًا فَلَا تَظَلَمُوا. And I prohibit it on myself and make it prohibited between yourself. Then don't do what? Don't wrong yourself. Don't oppress yourself. Don't carry out shiriku against your soul or against the one that will teach one to oppose Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all these ones, they are the description that if you mention any name of Allah, you understand it with regard that name, and in that understanding, you also take it from it, the one that relates to you. If you say that Allah is what? Shadidul Iqab, that is the one, according to the way He describes His action. But that action, you cannot use it to name Allah, because Allah did not name Himself that. Only that Allah used it to describe His action. But in describing the action of Allah, you take it from there that Allah is severe in punishment. Then I need to do what? To obey the commandment of Allah, so that I'll be free from the wrath of Allah and that punishment of Allah Ta'ala, and like that. So, and all these things, we have them in the Quran, the names, and we have them in the hadith of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But they are not restricted to 99. So we now take some of the example here. He said that Sifatullah Ta'ala la yastati'u al-ibad hasaraha, that it is impossible for the servant of Allah to do what? To gather everything together as one. All the attributes of Allah, that it is impossible to say they are restricted to a particular numbers. Now said, لأن كل اسم لله تعالى يتضمن صفة له جل وعلا, that all the names of Allah contains attributes of Allah. But it is not all the attributes of Allah that you can derive name from. Allah says Shadidul Iqab. Cannot now use it that, let me bring a name out of that. Allah describes his action that Ghayrul Maghdubi alayhi. Cannot take a name out of it. That okay, I will use that to describe Allah, that Allah is what? Al-Ghadib. And all those ones like that. But all these names of Allah, you take the actions of Allah, the attributes of Allah from His name. If Allah says is Ar-Rahman, you should know that Allah is full of what? Rahman. And like that. So, and I said that وَأَسْمَاءُ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى لَا يَسْتَطِيعُ الْعِبَادِ حَصْرَهَا. Like we have mentioned earlier on, that it is impossible to say the names of Allah are these particular numbers, that they are 99, and that anything beyond 99 said no, they are not names of Allah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned in that hadith that awithathabta fi nafsik, and like the names, that the one that you have selected for yourself, the one that you make us understand, that you make known to us, and there are some that you do what? You take it as your preclusive reserve. You take it to yourself. That means that it is not all the names of Allah that are known to us. One. Then it is not all the attributes of Allah that we say we are able to gather them. But we should know the one we know, we know. The one we don't know, we don't forge. Then he now mentioned that it has been mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah, the names and attributes of Allah. Then in this one, he mentioned the first one, Uluwullahi Ta'ala, that is the rising of Allah, or Allah being above us. So this one is something that is beyond some people's comprehension. So that is why some people, if you ask some people that where is Allah, Allah is everywhere. Even in the toilet, Allah is everywhere. Some people will say according to the Sufi, they said Allah is in each and every one of us. That Anta Allah wa Ana Allah. That Allah, we are the manifestation of Allah. So in essence, if you are looking at me, you are looking at Allah, and I am also looking at Allah. So it is the type of the thought of the Sufi people, because they lack the understanding of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So but the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam made us understand where Allah is. And there are many pointers to that in the Quran and in the Sunnah. So here the author mentioned that وَيَنْقَسِمُ إِلَى قِسْمَيْنِ عُلُوُّ الذَّاتِ وَعُلُوُّ الصِّفَاتِ. That is that the Allah being above us, or the Fawqiyatullah, they are divided into two. We have the one that are related to the personality of Allah, and we have the ones that are peculiar to the attributes of Allah. Maybe we take it one by one. When we say Dhatiyatullah, we are talking about the intrinsic quality of Allah. They are the inherent quality of Allah. That is, those things, the quality that you cannot separate from Allah. So, you say this one, they are describing the Dhatiyatullah. So, when we now look, let's go back again. The names and attributes of Allah, they are divided into two. Or the Sifa of Allah. We said, we have the Sifatu Thubutiyya and the Sifatu Salbiyya. The Sifatu Thubutiyya, they are the Sifa, they are the attributes that are affirming the qualities of Allah Ta'ala. They say, yes, these ones are affirming the personality of Allah, the quality of Allah, as described in the Quran and the Sunnah. So this Sifa, if they say Allah has wajhu, you describe it like that, yes, he has it. Allah has hand, yes, he has it. But the one that is beyond some people's comprehension is, you say Allah has hand. It is beyond comprehension. No. That means that you are saying Allah is like us. No. You say Allah has hand, but his hand is not like that of us. Allah has face. His face is not like that of us. Laysa kamithlihi shay'un wa huwa as-sami'ul basir. That there is nothing that can be compared to Allah Ta'ala. He hears all things and he sees all things. So this sifa, we say we have the sifa of thubutiyya, affirming what Allah does, the actions of Allah, the qualities of Allah. Then we have the sifatu salbiyya. Those are the negative quality that Allah negates from himself. For instance, now we describe human as what? As the one that sleeps, that forgets. We are the one that that dies. But all these quality, one cannot use it to describe Allah. They are among the sifatu what? Salbiyya. That you cannot use to describe Allah Ta'ala. So these sifatu thubutiyya, they are now divided into two again. We have the sifatu dhatiyya and the sifatu fa'iliyya. So the dhatiyya, the sifa, they are affirming the qualities of Allah Ta'ala, that these are inherent with Allah, that al-ilmu, al-qudra, or Allah has knowledge. In fact, at times you put al-kalam, al-sami'u, al-basir. So all these ones, they are what? They are inherent with Allah. They are with Allah and cannot be disengaged from Allah. Why the other one? That particular one, it is among the sifatu thubutiyya, but they are what? They are affirming the qualities of Allah. But this quality, they are peculiar to who Allah is. Then we cannot now look at the quality and now say, we say Allah is the, and among that sifa of Zatiyya, we have some that describe what Allah possesses in terms of hand, face, and like that, shin. So if you now want to describe it, we say yes, Allah uses all these ones to describe them, but we cannot imagine it. That, okay, this is how Allah will be. Because whatever we think in our brain that is how Allah is what? Fawqa dhalik. Allah is beyond that. Then we now have the other sifa, that is the sifatu al-fa'iliyya. Those ones are the ones that describe the will of Allah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. That those are what Allah will, that you cannot will anything except it falls under what Allah has willed. And that will of Allah, you can decide to do an action and decide not to do it. Like the nuzul ila sama dunya, can decide to come to the lower heaven and he can decide not to come. He can decide to be on his arsh and he can decide not to be there. So all these ones, they are describing the action, the will of Allah. And Allah can decide to, according to the Quran, say, fa'alu lima yurid. Allah can decide to talk now and decide not to talk. Allah can decide to do what? To carry out an action now, or can decide not to carry them out. So all these ones, we say they are under the action, the sifatu thubutiyya. At the same time, they are under the fa'iliyya. I hope we understand. So, what this author is now mentioning, he said that Ulu'ullah, that Allah being above us, is divided into two. We have the Ulu Dhatiyya, that one, the one that Dhatiyu, that is pointing to the quality of Allah, that Allah is always above us. Allah is always above us. And that one, that is among the inherent quality of Allah that can never be separated from Allah. And is always above us. And the other one is what? Is describing his sifa. That he will do what? From his action, he stay above us. I hope we understand the separation between the two. So that was why the author now mentioned that فَأَمَّا عُلُوُ الصِّفَاتِ فَمَعْنَاهُ أنه ما من صفات الكمال إلا والله تعالى أعلاها وأكملها. That there is nothing of description of perfection except that whatever you explain that this thing is perfect, you should always know that Allah is what? Allah is more perfect than that thing. Whatever you explain to be great, know that Falco, that greatness is what? Is Allah Ta'ala. I hope we understand. Then the other one is also what? Describing the sifa of Allah. Then the authors started taking it one by one. He said we have it in the Quran and the Sunnah that is pointing to the fact that Allah is far above us. That we have in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he talks about his being above us, wherein he said that يَخَافُونَ رَبَّهُمْ مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ, that indeed they fear their Lord مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ, from far above them. Meaning that Allah, if they ask you that what is the evidence that Allah is above us, this is one of them. That is what the author is mentioning. That there are many pointers in the Quran that Allah is what? Allah is far above us. So he said this is one of them. Then another one, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ, that Allah is the one that is what? That is high, al-azim, and great. Meaning, if they say somebody is high, you cannot say that somebody that is living under the ground and say is high. You too, you say it in your brain that no, how can you say it's high? You describe it the other way around, that maybe you are using irony, that person is low, not high. But if you say Allah Ta'ala is high, then Allah is as He described Himself. And the other one, Allah Ta'ala, He mentioned in Surah Al-Mulk that A'amintum man fis samai, that are they at rest? Are their mind at rest from the punishment of the one that is in the sky, in the heaven? And that is who? That is Allah Ta'ala. So that those ones that are not fearful of Allah, carrying out all those perpetration of evil, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, amintum man fis sama an yakhsifa bikumul ard. Are you safe from the one in the heaven if you decide to do what? To sever the land from your feet? Are you safe? No. So, but who is the one in the heaven that is referring to? That is Allah. So this one is also among the evidence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is far above us. Then another one, he said that there are many verses where Allah will say that things are doing what? Are pointing to Allah. Said, Ya rujul malaikatu wa ruhu ilayhi, that the angels and ruh, that is Jibreel, that they all what? They all ascend to Him. They return to Allah Ta'ala. I mean, they say something ascend. Who are they ascending to? That means that there's someone above all of us that they are all returning to. So, and he said, Ilayhi yas'adul kalmu at-tayyib, that into Him all the good word, kalmu at-tayyib, yas'adu ilayhi, they climb unto Allah Ta'ala. So, and we have from the Sunnah of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the hadith of the Jariyah, that is the female servant, that I had the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam ask her that, Ayn Allah, and he said what? Is Sama. And the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam instructed the slave master that A'atiqha fa innaha Muslima, that free her because she is a Muslim. Look at that simple text. But some people today will say, so if we see somebody that say, where is Allah? And I say, up above, that person is a Muslim. No, that alone does not say somebody is a Muslim. But this one is peculiar to the slave. There are many people today that will believe that yes, there is somebody above us that is controlling everything. But despite that, they don't believe in Allah. So can we now say that if they ask him that where is Allah, say Allah is above us, but he doesn't believe in Allah, does that make the individual a Muslim? But this one that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned here is a pointer to the fact that he knows the slave better. That this one, the understanding is beyond many things that people understood then. And that is, if she could understand that Allah is what is above us, that Allah is in the heaven, in the sky, that means that she must have understood many things according to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that does not say that if you now see somebody that wants to embrace Islam, and I say, where is Allah? And I say, up above us. And I say, you are now a Muslim. that is not sufficient to give the person the Shahada. And many other one. Then the other one is the Sifa of Al-Kalam, that Allah speaks. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned in the Quran that وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. So, it is at times, these ulama will explain it that it is among the Sifa of Dhatiyya of Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He does not cease talking. That means it is among the inherent quality of Allah. Then at times, we always explain it as among the sifa of what? Of attributes, of actions of Allah, that at times Allah will talk, at times He does not. And so in this place, فَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا, that Allah spoke to Musa. So at times, He will do what? He will communicate His prophet through linkages, through Jibreel. So at that point in time, He carries out the one He wills of His action. And this one will say, this sifa here is what? Is among the sifa of familia. That is, it is the action that, okay, I decide not to talk. I'll send my angel to him. And the one that decides to speak to Musa directly, to say that is also part of his action. So if you now say that Allah talks, what is the evidence that Allah talks? That is the Quran we have here. But the Kalamullah, is it makuluk or ghayru makuluk? That is the description of Allah, that He speaks. Is it among the creation of Allah? You say no. It is not among the creation of Allah. That it is among the sifa of Dhatiyatullah. I hope you understand that it is the quality of Allah. Now say that, okay, Allah has knowledge. Now say, as in that particular question, you now direct it to yourself that, okay, if we say Allah has knowledge, is the knowledge of Allah created? So it's the same thing as Allah speaks. Now say that speech, is it created or not? And this little thing, it led some people into error. The Mu'tazila, they believe that Kalamullah is what? Is makhluk. To the extent that they punish some people for not sharing in their belief. Because the way they see the Quran, they believe that it is created. You look at the leaves. Those are books. And they are created. And now you say that because they are created, it means that what is there in it too is created. You say no. Kalamullah, that is the word of Allah, is what is spoken to the angel and to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and recorded. So it is what has been spoken that was recorded, but that spoken is not the word itself is not what? Is not makhluk. We only have it written in tablets or wherever we have it written. So that is why they say that we have in the Quran the description of Allah or of Kalamullah, that is the sifa, the attributes that Allah speaks. Yes, Allah speaks, and He speaks to Musa. And in another hadith, He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yaqulu azza wa jalla yawm al-qiyamah. We say on the day of resurrection, Ya Adam, "Oh Adam, fayaqul," and Adam will say, "Labbaika Rabbana wa sa'adaik." He will respond to him that, "Oh my Lord, I am responding to you." So, and that Allah will speak to Adam on the day of resurrection. Fayunadi bi sawtin, and he will call with a voice that, "Inna Allah ya'muruka an takhruja min dhurriyyatika ba'than ila an-nar." And the voice will now talk that Allah has instructed you to take from your offspring ila an-nar, to hell. But what we are pointing out here is that Allah will speak to him, and it is pointing to the fact that Allah speaks. And here is not that whenever he wants to speak, he will now create that thing, then he will now speak. After speaking, and he decides not to speak again, he will do what? He will make that thing extinct. So that is why they say that Lam yazalullahu yatakallam, that Allah does not cease talking. He talked to Musa, and it is not an attribute that will not say, because some of those people that were misled, they said that yes, Allah has that attribute. He spoke for some time, then at another point, that ability to speak now disappear from him. Then it will now come back to him on the day of resurrection when he will now speak. So all these ones, they are because they are as a result of the lack of understanding. So that is what the author mentioned, that we have that also from the Quran and the Sunnah. Then another one, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran that fa'ajiru hatta yasma'a kalam Allah, when talking to the one that wants to carry out ijara, trading with one. He said fa'ajiru hatta yasma'a kalam Allah. You indulge in trading with him until what? Yasma'a kalam Allah. He will do what? He will hear the word of Allah. It's not that you meet an individual, just talk about, you want to deal with yourself business-wise, just talk about business. No. You have the opportunity of still calling him to dawah, you talk to him. Hatta yasma kalam Allah, and like that. So it's not as if you just say, what brings us together is business. Nothing about religion in this one. Why some of them today, they gather themselves at a particular place. They say, this Abuja here, it is just to share money. Don't introduce religion to this one. So, and some people used to do it today in our society too. Say, no, Afa, don't mention that one here. Don't call Allah, no call our Mus'ud there. It is this thing we want. We just want us to do what? To share the money and just go. So, and like that. So the third aspect here, another one is that Tanzilul Kitab la rayba fi min Rabbil Alamin. That is that talking about the revelation of the book of Allah Ta'ala, said that there is no doubt in it, min Rabbil Alamin. It is indeed from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So then we take the last one here, that is Istiwa. Said that one, it always bring people into confusion. And he said Istiwa al-arsh, that Allah do what? Allah say do irtifa. How isti'ila? Allah is above his throne. But how is Allah above his throne? Is he sitting? Is he reclining? You don't need to dabble into that. Just know that is what? Allah is above his throne. And Allah said, Ar-Rahman al-Arshi istawa, that Allah is what? Is above his throne. That is the ulama, they explain it of two. The first one, he said, Ista'ila, that is to be above the throne. And the second one, he said that it is what? It is irtifa. It is still indirectly translating the same thing. Why some people will say, no, they say he is above the throne. That means that the description should be that he is above it in such a way that you cannot place anything either above him. And that's their description. They say, if you say it's above, that means another thing will still be above him, and like that. So, but what is there is that you don't try to put yourself into unnecessary pressure when you say you still want to explain it away. So, because those people, at least, if it get to a stage that they say, if you say is this, let's kuku explain it this way. Just explain it away. So, and that is why the author now said that istiwa'ullahi ta'ala ala arshihi ma'nahu uluwuhu alayhi wa istiqra'uhu alayhi uluwan wa istiqraran haqiqiyan yaliqu bi jalalihi. That means that the one that befits His Majesty is the one you just use to end it all. That is, isti'lau is far, the ulu there is isti'lau far above us, and the second one is istiqrar, that well established above us, and that establishment or His farness on above us is the one that befits His Majesty. You don't need to, if you qualify it with that, you don't need to extend beyond that by now saying that if you say it's above that thing, that means that surely another thing will be above him. No. You don't need to just say that the one that befits His Majesty. So that one that befits His Majesty could be that there is nothing again that can still be above that aboveness. You know, that the one that befits His Majesty could be that, yes, is there, but there is nothing again that will still come to occupy that place with him. And like that. Wallahu a'lam. So, now say that we also have the evidences in the Quran that Allah said, Inna rabbakum Allahu alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal-arda fi sittati ayyam thumma stawa ala al-arshi. That verily your Lord is the one that created the heaven and the earth. Thumma stawa ala al-arshi. Then he reclined. So that one, he stay far, we just say he stay far above his throne. Is he reclining? You don't know. Is he sleeping on the throne? Is he sitting on the throne? You don't know. He said he's far above his throne. And that farness is the one that befits the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, inshallah, and then the last one here, the author mentioned the hadith where in Abu Hurairah who said, the Rasul said that, Inna Allah ta'ala khalaqa as-samawati wal-ardayn wa ma baynahuma fi sittati ayyam. That He created the heaven and the earth and whatever is in between them for 6 days, thumma stawa ala al-arshi, just like the one that had been mentioned in the Quran. Then in another one he said, Fata Bab al-Jannah, when describing what will take place on the day of Qiyamah in terms of intercession. That is, that we intercede for ourselves on that day for resurrection. Now said, Fata Bab al-Jannah, for Yufta Ali, that the door of Al-Jannah was brought near. Then said, and it was opened to me, the Rasul sallallahu mentioning. He said, Fa'ata Rabbi Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came forth, wa huwa ala kursiyihi, and is on his throne, on his seat, aw sariri, or his bed, fa'akhraja lahu sajidan, and everybody do what? Fa'akhara lahu sajidan, everybody went prostrating to Allah Ta'ala. So but what we want to take from here is that Allah will come on this word. In the one he said, Ala kursiyi, aw ala saririhi, on his throne. So how is he on his throne? You don't need to dabble into that. So, Allahu Alam. So inshallah, this is how far we'll be able to go today. And we pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to spare our life till next week and beyond when we will continue. So the little we have just explained, we pray He make us understand it more than we have explained it, and to improve our iman with it, and to make it serve as evidence for us here in this one and on the day of resurrection. Sallallahu alaihi wa barik ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Thank you. So if you have question, either from the first lecturer or we don't know whether there will be question for the first lecture. So for the first lecture or the second one. If you have question, you have question too. Okay, we take it from the right. Maybe let's the border of him. So we have seen the hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've counted it. This is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Abi, you raised your hand. I saw it. Okay, maybe it is your hand.